Following this debate, we took it a step further and spoke to former Forum for Democratic Change President, Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, on the General Sejjusa Museveni meet, who quashed any speculations that the embattled general was on a spying mission while in exile. Timothy Sibasi talked to the retired colonel.
Well, General Sejjusa returned to Uganda without notifying his previous colleague for his inflammable statements. It was expected Sejjusa, in a breach of military doctrine, which would tantamount to his arrest and be tried for treason, as the government had earlier echoed. Yet he was received by Uganda's domestic spy chief, Brigadier Ronnie Balia. Was this intended to be read as thank you for the job well done?
It is not true at all that Museveni deployed Sejjusa to go and spy. That is certainly not the case. I have no doubt about it at all. Sejjusa has his grievances. Arising out of those two elements, how to manage power within the NRM, and you know Sejjusa's complaints were about the last elements of his complaints were centered around the Muhoozi project. They were centered around how he was being treated in the reward system, being evicted by Musisi, being harassed by the money available to his department, being slashed whimsically, you know, at the whims of some person. These are the elements that caused the disgruntlement within the system.
Following all those statements that he had made, if it was any other person, he would be rounded up immediately on arrival at the airport.
Yes.
So even if he was to be hauled to prison today, but there's some suspicion, please say that.
You see, that
would
suspicion,
that still be part
that is the suspicion,
of the game to hoodwink?
that is the. Don't forget that there are many people out there who still think, even me, after 15 years of battling very, serious engagements with Mr. Museveni, there are many people who say, no, even the Besigye is Katemba. Besigye is working with Museveni. Actually, these are Museveni voices who would like Ugandans to believe that any strong opposition to Museveni is a Museveni creation, which Ugandans should not take seriously. This is nonsense. Mbabazi is battling Museveni for real issues. I know for sure. Certainly for power. Sejjusa is and has battled Museveni previously for real issues. Now, whether Sejjusa himself is able to stick it out and battle, that is a different matter.
Would you be surprised if Sejjusa was used as a decoy to incriminate other individuals who in turn will be the real jailbirds ahead of the 2016 presidential
You see, even if he was to spy, why expose the regime the way he has? How does that benefit the regime? You know, some of the information that has been exposed can be used even to drag Museveni to the ICC, and I think that's why the ICC is a big worry for Mr. Museveni now. So, I also know that many people are opposed to Sejjusa operating as an opposition element because of the baggage he has. It is Sejjusa who has been terrorizing us, traumatizing us, or his system. The system he was pretending over.
Why are you convinced that General Sejjusa He's now ready to fight a tyrannic regime. Yet we know the just concluded election, this very man was at the center of stage managing, of setting up an unconstitutional tallying center at Basima House that later changed the entire, what would be the entire outcome.
You see, again, I have no reason whatsoever to trust Sejusa. And I cannot go out there and vouch for what he is or is not, what he plans to do or what he doesn't plan to do. I have no reason. And I have no benefit in trying to either, place him as a person to rely on or not to rely on. There is nothing for me. For all I care, Sejusa, from his history, has been changing all the time. The other time he was before Museveni saying he had been seized by demons. That's why he that's why he was talking against Museveni. So for me, I don't know whether he's seized by demons or not. That is not for me. That is for Sejusa to talk for himself.
The Ugandan diaspora community that had rallied support behind him to an extent of even forming a party called Free Uganda are now portraying it as a big betrayal. From your independent analysis or the way you look at things, is this a big betrayal?
If there are individuals out there who were rallying behind Sejusa, they are the ones to blame. Why should you rally around an individual? But if they were rallying around ideas in which Sejusa was one of those rallying around those ideas, then they should not be bothered where Sejusa is. If Sejusa betrays those ideas, they continue with their ideas. The ideas should not and need not depend on what Sejusa is doing. This is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you very much, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
The Makindye-based military court-martial denied bail to 6 of the UPDF defector General David Sejusa's aides who were arrested 2 years ago on matters to do with General Sejusa's exit and exile life. Speaking at the court-martial, General Sejusa said that he doesn't see any reason why his former aides should be denied bail in the absence of sufficient evidence to pin them.
The accused include Grace Nasasura, Geoffrey Karuhanga, Grace Nayebare, Frank Nansima, Nwagaba Karuhanga, and Antwinamasko Arubanuma. These today appeared before the military court-martial led by Major General Levi Karuhanga at the Makindye-based military court-martial. Though their lawyer Ladislas Rwakafuzi presented alleged proof indicating that the state had no interest in the case, demanding for bail for the suspects.
I do not see why we are being technical. These people are in jail. Why? This is a court of justice. Why are we being technical? We are saying that, you see, the state should lose interest in this matter. You see? And on that ground alone, as we wait for a formal withdrawal with charges, these people should be granted bail. And I'm saying that we do not need even to adjourn for them to apply for bail. We can make an application orally. You see? Let us not get technical. This is a question of justice. These people are missing their wives and friends.
In reference to the case of the accused, Rwakafuzi told court that the accused had been arrested because General David Sejusa, who's now in the country without any case, being preferred against him by the state.
The person whom all these statements which have been submitted in this one were for one person. We are all after one person. So it will be very, very, very unfair to continue prosecuting these people. That person is in this court, is in this country. He's happy to be with the people here, and he's lawfully here, and there's no case that is against him.
Rwakafuzi claims that the just concluded negotiations between President Museveni and General David Ssejusa is enough to justify that the suspects are entitled to free bail.
There is a process by which the president is asking the head of legal, UPDF, to have these charges dropped, and I have been privy to those negotiations.
Justice delayed is justice denied. A 2-year period is a very long period. If there is evidence, somebody should either have been convicted or charges withdrawn and discharged or acquitted. I do not necessarily need shortcuts, but what I'm interested in is a fair trial, which should be expedited so that these young people can rejoin their families. They've been incarcerated for 2 years. I think that's quite on the high side. So now that I'm here, I'm trying to engage more and see how this process can be brought to a speedy end.
The court had to set January 15, 2015 for the suspect to return back to court with a formal bail application. It's 2 years since these people were arrested, and they have been applying for bail and denied in fear that they would escape and join their boss, General Ssejusa, who was by then in exile.
We're so glad to have you with us still here on Week in Focus. To stay with us, there is still so much more to come.